Listen carefully. Most men lose a woman before she has even decided whether she likes him. Not because he is unattractive. Not because he lacks intelligence. Not because he lacks money, status, or charm. He loses because he surrenders the frame. And the moment you surrender the frame, you surrender power. In politics, in war, in courts of kings, and in conversation, there is always a silent battle taking place. It is not a battle of words. It is a battle of perception. The one who defines reality controls the interaction. In The Prince, Niccolò Machiavelli warned rulers never to appear weak in uncertainty. A prince who constantly asks his advisors what to do ceases to be a prince. He becomes a servant dressed in silk. And yet, this is precisely what most men do when they approach a woman. They begin the interrogation. So where are you from? What do? Do you come here often? Each question seems harmless, innocent, polite, but beneath every question lies a hidden confession. I do not know how to lead this interaction. I need you to provide direction. I hope you approve of me. Approval. Seeking is submission disguised as curiosity. When you ask too many questions at the beginning, you place yourself in the role of interviewer seeking validation. You create a subtle hierarchy where she becomes the prize being evaluated, while you become the applicant hoping to qualify. An attraction rarely grows upward from submission. Understand this clearly. The first person who defines the tone defines the frame. The frame is the invisible structure that determines who is leading, who is reacting, who is qualifying, and who is being qualified. If you approach and immediately ask, "What do you like to do for fun?" you have handed her the authority to determine the direction of the conversation. You are now reacting to her answers. She speaks, you adjust. She reveals, you pursue. You have entered her world without inviting her into yours. The Machiavellian approach rejects this imbalance. Instead of seeking approval, you assume composure. Instead of requesting permission, you project certainty. Consider the difference. A man approaches and says, "You look like you don't trust people easily." This is not a question. It is a statement. It subtly communicates that you are observant, that you are evaluating, that you are not there to beg for entertainment, but to assess character. Now she must respond within your frame. She may laugh. She may deny it. She may challenge you. But regardless of her reaction, she is now investing energy into disproving or confirming your declaration. You are no longer chasing information. You are shaping perception. This is power. Machiavelli understood that perception often outweighs reality. A prince does not wait for the people to define him. He defines himself before they can. He controls the narrative. When you enter a conversation asking question after question, you are allowing her to define you as another man seeking approval. And she has met hundreds of those men. But when you enter with composed certainty, speaking in observations rather than inquiries, you signal something rare. You signal self-sufficiency. The man who seeks approval is cautious with his words. He hesitates. He filters himself excessively. He fears saying the wrong thing. The man who controls the frame speaks as though he expects to be heard. There is a profound psychological shift here. When you ask, you imply uncertainty. When you declare, you imply discernment. Women, like all human beings, are drawn towards strength of frame because it suggests stability, not arrogance, not aggression, stability. The stable man does not rush to fill silence with nervous questions. He allows silence to breathe. He looks, observes, and then speaks deliberately. He does not try to impress. He assumes presence is enough. Notice how powerful individuals speak. They rarely interrogate, they comment, they interpret, they direct. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, a man says, "What kind of music do you like?" In the second, a man says, "You definitely have a secret playlist you don't show people." The first is safe. Predictable, forgettable. The second creates curiosity. It creates tension. It creates play. And most importantly, it establishes that he is not there merely to gather data. He is there to create an experience. Controlling the frame does not mean dominating or silencing. It means initiating the structure of interaction. It means you are not reacting to her mood. She is reacting to your presence. This is subtle dominance. And subtle dominance is infinitely more attractive than loud confidence. Many men fear that if they do not ask questions, the conversation will die. But that fear reveals dependency. If your conversational strategy relies entirely on extracting information, you are not conversing, you are mining. The Machiavellian speaker understands something deeper. People enjoy responding to interpretations more than answering surveys. When you say, "You're the type who pretends not to care but actually notices everything," you are offering her something to engage with emotionally. She now wants to clarify, to challenge, to tease, to correct. You have sparked investment without asking permission. This is how you control the frame. Control is not loud. It is not forceful. It is structural. It is choosing to enter the interaction as the evaluator rather than the applicant. It is speaking as though you are deciding whether she fits into your world, rather than hoping you fit into hers. And this shift, this microscopic shift, changes everything. When you stop seeking approval, your tone slows. Your movements become deliberate. Your words carry weight because they are not rushed. You are no longer trying to impress. You are assessing, and in that assessment, you become intriguing, because approval-seeking men are common. But men who assume their value and speak from it are rare. Control the frame, do not seek approval. Pay attention. Most men believe conversation is an exchange of information. It is not. Conversation, especially between a man and a woman, is an exchange of frames. And the one who inquires excessively forfeits authorship of reality. When you ask a question, you step into her world. When you declare a statement, you invite her into yours. There is a difference between curiosity and submission. Most men disguise submission as politeness. They believe that by asking many questions, they appear interested, engaged, respectful. But beneath the surface, something else is happening. Every question places her in the position of authority. She becomes the source, you become the seeker, and the seeker is rarely desired. In The Prince, Niccolò Machiavelli advised rulers not merely to react to circumstances, but to shape them. A prince who constantly inquires about public opinion eventually becomes shaped by it. A prince who declares vision bends opinion toward himself. The same law governs attraction. When you approach a woman and ask, "So what do you do?" you are gathering facts. Facts are dry, facts are neutral, facts do not stir emotion. But when you say, "You don't look like someone who enjoys routine," you are no longer collecting information. You are creating tension. Tension is life. Questions extract data. Declarations provoke identity. Understand this deeply. People are addicted to clarifying who they are. When you make a statement about her, especially one that is slightly bold, slightly interpretive, she feels compelled to respond. Not because you asked, but because you defined. You're more observant than you let on. You pretend to be calm, but your mind moves fast. You act confident, but you don't give that to everyone. These are not questions. They are psychological invitations. They do something subtle. They assume insight. And assumed insight signals authority. Most men are afraid to assume anything. They fear being wrong. They fear awkwardness. They fear rejection. But certainty, even playful certainty, carries weight. A declaration does not have to be accurate. It must be delivered with composure, because what you are really communicating is not knowledge of her. You are communicating knowledge of yourself. The man who declares is comfortable risking being wrong. The man who inquires excessively is terrified of misstep. Which one appears stronger? Which one feels more grounded? Consider two energies. Energy 1 says, "What kind of person are you?" Energy 2 says, "You're trouble, but the intelligent kind." The first forces her to define herself abstractly. The second gives her something to react to emotionally. Humans do not fall in love with questionnaires. They fall into fascination with perspective. When you declare, you reveal perspective. You are no longer a neutral observer trying to collect traits. You are an active interpreter of reality, and interpretation is attractive because it feels decisive. Machiavelli understood that people follow those who appear certain of their perceptions. Even when that certainty is constructed, it creates stability. People crave structure. When you speak in declarations, you create structure. You walked in like you own the place. You're deciding whether I'm interesting or arrogant. You don't give your attention easily. Notice something powerful. Each of these statements subtly implies that you are observing her from a position of calm authority. You are not trying to impress, you are assessing. And when she responds, whether with laughter, denial, or curiosity, she steps into your narrative. This is frame control in action. When you ask, "Do you like adventures?" you are waiting for her to provide content. When you say, "You're the type who says yes to reckless ideas," you provide content first. Now she must either align with it or challenge it. Either way, she invests. An investment builds engagement. Questions are linear. Declarations are dimensional. Questions move the conversation horizontally from topic to topic. Declarations deepen it vertically into identity. You seem guarded. Now she can respond with why. Now she reveals something personal, not because you requested it, but because you provoked reflection. Do you see the difference? You are not extracting information, you are eliciting revelation. There is also another psychological truth at play. When you ask many questions, you place yourself in the role of someone seeking validation through approval. You are subconsciously asking, is this acceptable? Is this safe? Am I doing well? But when you declare, you communicate internal validation. You are not asking for confirmation of your social value. You are expressing your perception freely. This does not mean arrogance. It means groundedness. The Machiavellian approach is not about dominance through force. It is about dominance through narrative. The man who inquires lives inside her narrative. The man who declares invites her into his. And whoever holds the narrative holds the dynamic. Imagine the shift in tone when instead of asking, "Are you always this quiet?" you say, "You're quiet because you're studying people." The first feels like small talk. The second feels like insight, and insight creates intrigue. Intrigue creates magnetism. There is also a rhythm to declarations that commands attention. They slow the pace. They create pause. A question speeds things up. It demands immediate answer. A statement lingers. It allows eye contact. It allows silence, and silence under control is power. When you stop inquiring and start declaring, something changes in your posture. You lean back, you speak slower, you become less reactive, and that non-reactivity is felt, because attraction is rarely about what is said. It is about who appears anchored. A man who declares communicates anchoring. He is not searching for direction. He is offering it. He is not fishing for personality traits. He is testing chemistry. This subtle psychological repositioning transforms the entire interaction. She no longer feels interviewed. She feels seen, and being seen, even imperfectly, is intoxicating. Most men think they must ask to show interest, but interest expressed through inquiry is common. Interest expressed through interpretation is rare. When you say, "You're different from your friends," you create mystery. When you ask, "Are you different from your friends?" you create a survey. Declare, do not inquire, because the one who declares sets the emotional temperature. and the one who sets the temperature controls the room. Listen carefully. Attraction is not built in the mind. It is built in the nervous system. Most men attempt to win a woman through logic. They try to be interesting, informative, impressive. They talk about work, hobbies, travel, achievements. They exchange facts as though attraction is a resume being reviewed. But desire does not respond to logic. Desire responds to emotion. When you ask logical questions, you activate the analytical part of her mind. You pull her into evaluation mode. She begins assessing compatibility, safety, social appropriateness. And evaluation is cold. Cold minds do not feel heat. The Machiavellian understands that human beings are moved not by information, but by stimulation. In The Prince, Niccolò Machiavelli did not advise rulers to win hearts through detailed explanations. He advised them to understand passion, fear, pride, ambition, the emotional levers that truly move people. If you wish to create attraction, you must shift from logical exchange to emotional provocation. Look at the difference. Logical conversation sounds like this. What do you do? How long have you lived here? What are your hobbies? These are safe. Predictable, polite. They generate answers, but answers are not feelings. Now compare that with emotional provocation. You don't seem like someone who enjoys ordinary things. You're trying to figure out if I'm trouble. You look calm, but you get bored easily. These statements are not requests for data. They are sparks. A spark forces a reaction. When you provoke emotion, you disrupt neutrality. Neutrality is the enemy of attraction. Most conversations between men and women die because they remain neutral. They hover in safe territory where nothing risky is said, nothing playful is implied, nothing slightly challenging is introduced. And without tension, there is no electricity. Emotional provocation introduces tension, not hostility, not aggression, tension, the kind that makes her lean in, smile slightly, defend herself playfully, or challenge you back. When you say, "You're judging me already," she laughs and says, "No, I'm not." But she is now engaged. Her body shifts, her tone changes. You have moved her from passive participant to active responder. This is critical. Logic keeps her sitting back. Emotion pulls her forward. Understand the psychology beneath this. The brain remembers how it felt far more vividly than what was said. She will not remember that you asked about her job. She will remember that she felt intrigued, slightly challenged, slightly excited when speaking to you. Emotion imprints, logic fades. This is why many nice conversations never lead anywhere. They are pleasant but forgettable. Pleasant does not create longing. Provocation does not mean being rude. It means creating contrast. Contrast between calm and intensity, between certainty and mystery, between composure and playful boldness. For example, instead of asking, "Are you always this serious?" you say, "You're pretending to be serious, but you're actually the chaotic one in your group." Now she feels seen and challenged simultaneously. Two emotions at once. Dual emotion creates depth. Depth creates magnetism. Most men fear emotional provocation because it risks rejection. If she does not respond well, it feels more exposed than a safe question. But exposure is strength when controlled. Machiavelli understood that bold moves, when calculated, create respect. Timid moves create invisibility. When you stay in logical conversation, you become background noise. Another polite interaction in a day full of polite interactions. When you introduce emotional provocation, you become a stimulus. And stimulus is remembered. There is also a biological element to this. Attraction involves adrenaline, dopamine, anticipation. These chemicals are triggered by uncertainty and emotional fluctuation. not by factual exchange. Questions stabilize. Provocations destabilize just slightly. You're not as innocent as you look. Now her mind races. Why would he say that? What does he see? Is he right? Is he teasing? Her heartbeat shifts. You have changed the rhythm of the interaction. When the rhythm changes, attention sharpens. Logical conversation keeps rhythm flat. Provocation adds tempo. This does not mean constant teasing. It means deliberate emotional contrast. You might say you're confident, and then after a pause, but only when you feel in control. Now she must consider that. She might ask, what makes you say that? Notice what happened. She is now asking you questions. She is seeking your perspective. The dynamic has reversed. Emotional provocation positions you as the emotional catalyst rather than the information collector. And catalysts are powerful because they influence the environment without chasing it. There is also another layer. When you provoke emotion, you reveal that you are not afraid of tension. Most men rush to smooth tension out. They apologize quickly, clarify excessively, soften statements immediately. That behavior signals fragility. When you make a bold observation and hold eye contact calmly, you signal stability under tension. Stability under tension is deeply attractive because it implies strength. You seem like you overthink everything. Silence, let her respond, do not rush to explain, let the emotion breathe. That breathing space creates intensity. Intensity creates memory. Logical conversation seeks comfort. Emotional provocation creates chemistry. Chemistry is not safe. It is charged. The Machiavellian approach understands that people follow those who make them feel alive. And feeling alive requires variation, warmth and coolness, challenge and approval, certainty and unpredictability. If you remain purely logical, you flatten the emotional landscape. If you master provocation, you sculpt it. You are not talking to exchange information. You are speaking to create sensation. Because sensation is what she will remember when she walks away. Not what you asked, but how you made her feel.